Good morning, Tracy. It's 8:11 on 2/22/24. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, and I have had a great morning so far. Already been able to serve people on the East Coast early this morning, so it's good to see
Wow,
you this morning.
wow. East Coast. So you were able to make the call. Your cell phone didn't go down last night?
No, if it did, I must have slept through it because I woke up. I mean, my alarm went off just like it normally. I do my alarm through my cell phone, just like probably 90% of cell phone users. But there are some, however, that do not use an alarm. They use an actual alarm clock. I know of one family, they put their cell phones in a bowl right next to the door.
Oh,
So when they come in, they drop them off right there and they don't even look at them.
oh. That means they talk to each
Yeah.
other. How scary is that?
That,
That's just
that means they
that's
talk to each other.
horrible. Oh my God, kind of scary.
Which, and that kind of leads us into what we want to share with our viewers today about social media. So just thinking about, wow, they actually talk to each other. They actually talk to like person to person instead of, they're navigating through social media. And I've had just recently business owners that have asked me, Paul, they've asked me about websites, landing pages, funnels, social media. And so I'm super excited that we selected this topic for today.
What is the topic? It's does my
The topic
business
for
need
today.
social
Okay, the
media?
topic for
Okay,
today.
and our
Does my
producers popping
business
stuff up I've never seen. It's horrible.
does my business require social media? Do I need a social media footprint for my business? Is it business or industry specific? Like some businesses, they don't require it and everything. So we get to go all points, and it's open. I mean, it is this topic is open like a field of freshly fallen snow. Be careful how you tread it, for every mark will show. So how do we want to approach
Wow,
this?
we're rhyming this morning. Hey, I didn't get that memo. I didn't write any prose for this. Dang it. Um,
I'm so
so
inspired.
well, Tracy, I mean, obviously, the more attention you can get, the more traffic goes towards your business. That type of thing in today's world, as opposed to 30 years ago, we are all trying to grab attention. I mean, fact of the matter is, you and I are doing this podcast because we're
Right?
trying to grab attention,
Yeah.
ultimately, and trying to help people at the same time. But we're trying to get people to listen to us, and at the end of the day, we offer some significant value. So, what do you think? I want to hear it from Tracy Currington in the restaurant industry, because that's actually one of the most interesting areas,
Hmm.
in from a social media standpoint. And I think we could learn a lot coming out of the woes of the restaurant industry at this
Yeah.
point, and how restaurants are using social media. Because I
Hmm.
think we did a cast a few weeks ago where we kind of got knee deep into restaurants, and you had kind of quizzed me on, if I opened a restaurant, what would I do?
Hmm.
And there was a big social media piece of that, if I remember correctly. Now Alzheimer's is setting in, so I may not remember correctly. But based on that conversation, what do you think?
So when I'm thinking about social media, I have to go like, I mean, like one of the big things that I've learned just by sharing space with you is that outcomes are everything. And like, so I think like when you're looking at whether it's a restaurant or any, I mean, like, any viewer that's watching this, there's value whether you own a restaurant or you're operating a restaurant or not. We just use restaurants because Paul and I are both really, really familiar. That's kind of like a connecting point. He's got a lot more abilities in software and stuff like that than I do. But for that, whether it's software or your a car lot or the restaurant, I think if outcome is everything, you got to determine what are some of the outcomes, like the purposes for using social media in the first place. And Paul, I think you already mentioned attention. I mean, like you're trying to drive traffic. You're trying to like, hey, look at me. It's the banner, the guy out waving the flag, come on in, where it's tax time. And like, here's this Lady Liberty out there in front of H&R Block or whatever it is, like for taxes. you're trying to drive traffic and trying to get attention. But I jotted down just before we started, just like real quick. Okay, what are some of the things that I would want? I would want attention, like what we're doing on this podcast. We're sharing content, right? So like we're gaining attention, but we're sharing. We have something of value that we're giving people is one thing. What are some things that you're thinking of that like social media provides?
Well, so and attention isn't an outcome. It's the beginning of an outcome, but it's attention for what reason, right? What reason do I want attention for? Okay, we talked about the restaurants a couple of weeks ago. So the intention is to get people. What I want out of it is reservation bookings. That's the outcome I'm looking for. I think from the model that we built last time. So now I'm looking for, if you remember that model, I said, so I'm going to have a special every weekend on Friday and Saturday, and it's going to be this fabulous dish. And to get the attention to book, I want attention on social media wrapped around cooking that particular dish, right? And then I'm going to build a landing page for reservations. I'm going to produce this video. I'm going to get it out on all of my social media, and that this is being cooked this weekend, and then it disappears. This is a brand new recipe I just came up with, and it's freaking fabulous. And come and book a reservation. My intention, my outcome, is to fill Friday and Saturday night. So I am not struggling to get tables full. I am struggling to turn them over so that I can manage the traffic. I want a new problem. I want the opposite problem.
Yeah. So
to me, that's an outcome, right?
Yeah.
That's like the outcome for that model.
Yeah. So others, I mean, like if you're in a used car lot, you're trying to move product, you're trying to sell cars. I mean, like the obvious obviously attention is part of it, but that's not I love that. I love that thinking. That's just thinking deeper into what's the real outcome here. The real outcome is I want to book more reservations to where I can put more butts in seats and deliver a great experience to more people.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. The outcome could be a lot of things. It's dependent on the situation. I own the restaurant, and my person who makes orders ordered 20 freaking New York strip sirloins. And I'm like, oh, crap, I got to get this stuff out. I think I'm going to design a recipe around the New York strip, and I'm going to cut some thick strips and stuff them, and I'm going to have a special on Saturday night so I can get this product out the door so I don't eat the cost of it. Yeah. So that's an outcome, right? So you can be very specific with your outcomes, or they can be general. Generally, for most businesses, it's a few outcomes based on a specific product or service that they're trying to drive.
Yeah. Yeah. So does my business need social media? Short answer, yes or no?
Short answer is possibly.
I was going for yes. I'm like, just.
You have not sold me. No. The thing is, I would say social media is really grand, but it really does depend on the business. So, and it's true. Let's take the legal field for an example. Yep. They have to be very careful with how they use social media. There are financial people. There are laws that you can't sell on social media. So you have to gain attention in a way that is compliant with the rules and laws in your particular industry. So it's careful. It could be a doctor's office. Does a doctor need social media? I would say yes, but it's got to be different. Yeah, it's got to be different. The lawyer, professional services in some ways.
Yeah, so it's super, super important, and of course we've talked about this before about going back to the outcome. Like, what is it that you want to achieve by using social media? So my answer, the short answer for me would be yes. Your business needs social media, but in what outcome? In what way does your business, like, what is the outcome that you need? I mean, do we all need to generate leads? Yes, we all want more butts in the seats, or more patients, more clients, more cases, or whatever it is that we're working. We need more people to recognize that we are here. We don't have that. I mean, like the yellow pages, putting an ad in a yellow page. Hey, I got a great deal on this.
Do they still have yellow pages?
I don't think so. You're giving me a great deal. Yeah, but a great deal on a useless product or an outdated product is not a great deal. I mean, because it's not, if no one's viewing it, and people are viewing social media. So because of all the viewers that, whether it's, and I think there's an interesting thought that I was just having about, does my business need social media? And to your point about, you brought up the doctors, and they're like, well, where does your ideal client, what platform are they using?
Where do they hang out?
Yes, exactly. If they're
okay, this goes back to the problem you solve and who you solve it for.
Yep.
And the big thing is the who you solve it fors are out there in groups.
Yep.
On possibly Facebook, more likely Instagram these days, because Facebook's kind of sliding away, or they're playing on Twitter, or excuse me, X. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to that. I'm not so sure. That was a great call, Elon. It's like everybody's struggling with it.
So then,
I know X.
Yes.
The platform formerly known as Twitter. I am in Minnesota. I'll go with the Prince idea. So
the artist formerly known as
Prince. Yeah, exactly.
So your ideal client, where do they hang out? Like, so we've got this outcome, and the outcome is we want to, like, go back to our restaurant. Where do I post? So if I need social media, is there one platform? Do I do all platforms? Am I going for it all? And should I be everywhere? I mean, to be everything to all men, or should I find out like my target audience and then learn where they hang out? How do I do that? How do I find my target audience and my ideal client to find out where they hang out?
Well, you need to find the primary place and then be able to bring them to it. It's kind of an omnipresent idea. But let's say you're a construction company. In fact, I'm working with a client in Canada who's a construction company, and there's a platform out there that's not extremely well known. It's called Next Door Neighbor. I'm on it here, but it's like neighborhoods. Like all of my neighbors are on this platform, so
big group.
Yeah. So you can get access to them. You can engage with them there. They're asking. It's funny. I think 3 times a day I hear, does anybody know of a handyman who can do this?
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, if I'm a handyman, I'm hanging out on Next Door Neighbor. I mean, I've got stuck to my phone because I want to be the first guy to respond to, 3 to 5 leads a day that just organically pop out of that thing because I'm local. I'm here. I mean, one of the biggest things about social media or any of this is think global, but be local. And it really drives the idea of your best customer is right down the street from you. Yeah. And you may have, if you have a global brand or you're just starting out or that is, you have to get engaged with people locally. So Next Door Neighbor is a great way to do that. If you're a construction company, if you're in LinkedIn, there's local groups, people, or start a local group, get local and begin the group and make it a local group instead of trying to go global with it at first. Make it local, make it live, make it in person. That's one of the things that we're losing in the social media game is the physicality. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to try to create a market, local restaurant or whatever, get engaged locally on social media and then transcend that group into a personal get together where you guys actually shake hands, you look at each other's eyes, you have conversations and you get to know each other. It's something that unfortunately I think we partially lost because of pandemic, but I think we were losing it before pandemic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think that when you were saying that, I was thinking Jeff Henderson was he's written a book called FOR, and in that he used to work with Chick-fil-A on a lot of their marketing and stuff like that, and obviously social media was one. And he wrote in the book, like, what are you known for, and what do you want to be known for? Were the two concepts that they went through. And on social media, he was talking about putting the social back in social media, and he referenced about, like, instead of like, we started this episode with like attention, like as like is that the outcome? Well, no, that's not the outcome. Obviously I need to get attention, but reservations, butts in the seats, that was my outcome that I was looking for.
mm-hmm.
It was taking your business social media imprint, and then, I mean, imagine if Amazon posted on your timeline, I love this post. I mean, like, what? Like, in other words, a local business looking at somebody else's post, so like I started doing that. I started doing, like, with my business 180 turnarounds. I started commenting on other people's posts in the 180 turn, not with Tracy Currington, but with 180 turnarounds. So they saw, my business sees you. Hey, I see you. I see you. And that was putting the social, that was connecting on a local scale, connecting my business with the community to, like, who is this 180 turnarounds? Because they're always like commenting on my post or whatever. It was like, my business sees you, instead of look at me, I'm here.
Yeah, that's actually a great strategy. And also, one of the big things is, I guess we'll get a little into it today. It's interesting how the idea of social media was there to make people more social, to bring people together. And it has had the unintended consequence, one of my tag words, right?
Yep.
Unintended
Yep.
consequence of pulling us apart and
Yep.
and separating us. So to start leveraging it, to make it actually do what it was intended to do, is we have to draw people out of their houses, out of their computers, out of their businesses, and put them together so that they can actually meet, greet, and like each other, right?
Yeah.
It's that. And
Well, people are interested in others that are interested in them, and that's like that was kind of a guiding thought, that, like, if I can show that, like, I was working with a group. They had 4 used car lots, and all their hey guys, this is Joe. Come out and see me. Come out and see me. Come out and see me. Like, instead of like, I see you. And then, instead of following another person, like, oh man, that's a great ride and everything, we've got one, like, instead of come see me, come see me, come see me, is all they were doing. Like, where do you see other people? Like, follow your ideal client around, let them know that you're there for them. And on when you were saying about, think globally, but stay locally, your local target market, and trying to guide them into the social aspect of quit. It's all about you. Make it all about others. Like, I see you. I see what you're doing.
yeah, it's a very Avatar concept. So if
Yeah.
you see that movie Avatar, no, absolutely. I think it's really important to understand the amount of work that this actually is. Okay, the amount of time it takes to do all this. So you have to be cognizant of what's most effective when you're doing it, until you can offload it to someone else. I mean, there's companies with immense departments that do all social media. You think you're talking to the actual person, you're actually talking to their social media assistant. Until there's engagement. I'm just and now we've got AI that's out there doing the interaction. I envision in another 5 years we're just going to have AI talking to AI, and nobody's going to be involved in anything anymore. so
Yeah.
I think to combat that, and I don't think I know, to combat that, to make it so that there's actual interaction and you're actually building relationships with your potential customers and your customers and continuing that relationship. We're going to have to draw it back out from being on a keyboard in a computer to
Yeah.
actually getting together and meeting each other and doing that. And I think we're going to see a transcendence in the industry that goes right back to that, shaking hands to do a
Mhm.
business deal.
Yeah.
Right. Because, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I never fell into it. I still get in a deal and I'll hop on a plane and fly out
Hmm.
to consummate the deal.
Yeah.
And of course the deals are of size that it makes sense to
It
do that.
justifies the expense.
That's part of the calculation.
Hmm.
But even if it's close, I'll hop a plane and go meet the team. It is part of my makeup. It's part of the way I grew up in the industry. Is it's very French.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
you have to have a good grip on their hand when you're signing the paperwork because it's a bond.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about like, okay, does my business need social media? And then leading, okay, like let's suppose, well, yeah, I think I do because, I do want to put more butts in the seats, or I do want to, not just the leads. I mean, like, because I think I love that. I love what you said about the attention. The attention, now that I have attention, I can actually drive them toward my intention. My intention, my outcome was this. Now that I got your attention, I can get you over to here. Hey, click the link below and you can have la da da. Like my intention is not to give you a free ebook. My intention is to get on a strategy call with you and sell you coaching or whatever the real true outcome is. So let's suppose like, okay, I'm in a strategy and I realize as a business owner, okay, yeah, I think social media would help me in my local market for developing relationships with my community and so forth. The strategy that I have just beginning in social media, how long does it take? How long does it take to start to build that following, to build that group, if it was a group, to start gaining some traction? What should I be planning for? I mean, like, Paul, I've been doing this for a month and I just don't see the value in it. It's like, so I read Grant Cardone. Of course, he's everywhere. Like his whole goal is omnipresence, and he talked about I don't get in any kind of marketing strategy and not get in it for at least 12 months, like before I start to really generate the revenues from it. So I don't know if that's the great strategy, but what would you say to a person like they're a business owner just starting out there in their local market, they're trying to think globally, putting the social media out there? What's the strategy they should have?
Well, I would say number one, manage your expectations. Everybody looks at people like Grant and Tony Robbins and these other, moguls that are out there, and they don't realize that they started 20 years ago. Okay. And
Right.
now that, they've got 10 million followers and a social media team that's you know, bigger than my entire team, that that social media that goes right to the point of how much work it actually is to get that done.
Mhm.
If you're starting from an organic scenario, and let's define organic, it means you're like bootstrapping. You've got nothing and you have to create something. The biggest struggle
Yeah.
with social media is creating content.
Mm.
I've seen it in so many companies. It's like, we know what we got to do. It's like, but how are we going to create all this content now? AI has provided a little bit of a slip stream to that you can get through it. But we talk about omnipresence and all that. I say, where's where is the who, right? Where the
Mm.
problem you solve and who you solve it for. Where is that who? Where that your best time is figuring out where the highest concentration of your who is if you're doing a
Mhm.
social media scenario, right?
Mhm.
So groups, any of that type of stuff. Where's your who? Once you find your who, then develop a strategy to engage with your who there. That's where you start. And then you start
Mhm.
building out from that. You can't be everywhere day one all at once. So you need to, figure out which platform best fits for the problem you solve. find your who, which will determine which platform that you're going to start with, right? If you've got 20 groups on LinkedIn that really talk about the problem that you solve, and you've got 4 groups on Facebook, where do you think you should start? You should start LinkedIn, right? You should go, okay, my social media engagement strategy entry point is going to be LinkedIn. All right, so let's build a strategy. Number one, to provide valuable content, as you said, in that, engage with the people in that, find the people in that group that are local.
Yeah.
Get a get together, get those people in a room, you're all like-minded, and start there. Because once they meet,
and be consistent.
well, think about this. Once you meet them, once you shake their hands, and if you are the person that you are, then that's going to get back into the group. They're going to talk about it. And then the organic piece, they're going to start following you, and they're going to start engaging with you based on the problem that you solve. So it's, you have to look at you really need to take a look at the outcome you're looking for, the problem you solve, who you solve it for, and develop your strategy to target those people.
Yeah.
And then, to your point, engage with them about them, not about you. That's probably the one of the biggest mistakes that's out there.
And another big mistake is that, like, oh, I did that, Paul, once. It's like, like you said, like Tony Robbins.
I can't tell you, that just makes a chill down my spine every time I hear that. Yeah, we did that. Yeah. Oddly, I'm going to be honest with you, you didn't do it right. That's the problem. You did it halfway. You didn't employ the right techniques to get this accomplished. Sit down, build the strategy, figure it out, and then be willing to put resources to it for 6 months before you see any. Hey, some people get lucky. They get, bing, bing, bing. Yeah. And that it's interesting. It's counter. The people who are successful right away tend not to be successful long term. And here's why. It's called confirmation bias. They think they're doing it the right way and they're successful with it, so they start to believe they've got it. And the guys who struggle to get there get through all the ways not to do it and get to the way to do it and continue to lean into it because they had to work to get it. And there's no confirmation bias there. So.
Yep. And that's seen in nature. In nature, I mean, like the world's fastest growing tree doesn't have depth of roots. And so as a result, first big storm come down through southern Oklahoma, and that tree's leaned over because it just didn't have enough. I mean, it grew so fast too quickly that it didn't have the right root structure. It wasn't grounded.
Didn't have the legs. Didn't have the legs to carry the lawnmower.
Exactly right.
So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, by the way. I've never heard that metaphor before, but that's great.
Yeah. I bought 6 of the world's fastest growing trees. I've got one. Like, because they just, they sprouted it was true. I mean, they sprouted from like a little coffee can, up, 2 foot tall, and then they died really quickly.
Yeah. So if I ever see a company out there called Landscaping by Tracy, I'm just going to cruise past it.
Yeah, move on. You ain't going to be around very long. So so Paul, I'm thinking about somebody watching this and they're thinking about like, okay. So I know the biggest struggle is creating content, and I know that like now the content I need to be focused more on what's going to serve them. I'm focused on what about them, but they also want to know a little bit about me too. So is there a ratio between, between like what I'm putting out there? Hey, what do you think about this? And hey, survey, are you paper or plastic? Just like, I don't know. I like just made that up, but like, just things that serve them, that they'll engage with me about. but then they want to know something about the social media influencer themselves. What's that ratio? I mean, like, is it a 1-to-5 post? It'd be a 1-to-10 to give them a little insight about who I
Well,
am.
I think I have a very specific strategy around this, and I have a social media manager who was posting, all of my stuff or all the stuff on my personal Facebook page, and I was getting a ton of followers, but the business page wasn't getting crap, you know. And I was kind of like, all right, we need to adjust here. We need to pivot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so we came up with a strategy. We've got our business sites on all the social media. We do all of our business postings on social media on the business pages, and then we share them out from our personal pages. So then
Yeah.
there is all the personal stuff that I have coming out, which I, every once in a while, I'm big wrapped around my daughter and son. So if I get together with that you'll see a long distance of nothing because I don't take pictures of myself. I'm just not that guy. And and then I'll spend some time with the kids, and then all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of pictures pop up, or I'll go on a
Mm-hmm.
trip. Like I'm sure I'm going to Portugal in 2 months here, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch of pictures that stem from that on my personal site, where my business is just pumping out its stuff. Right? It's like my business is wrapped around positive influences, so there's positive quotes coming from other people or insights, and we're out and I engage with my job in social media. And the way I have it split up is my social media person is out there doing all this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
then the conversations that I can add value to, truly add value, I'll jump in and I'll go to that group, and I'll pop
Mm-hmm.
I'll see something that really could use a perspective on it, and I'll offer some value out there. So I'm very strategic about how I do it, because again, going back to my original statement, is this could take a long time,
Yeah.
right? This could distract you, especially if you're not getting, if your outcomes for leads or your outcomes for appointments or any of that stuff, and you're just getting started. You still got to do you got to do your day to day, your cold
Yeah.
calls. You got to go engage with new people, direct connecting on LinkedIn, depending on your product or service. So you've got to do all that, and you're doing like this other social media growth, trying to get followers. Followers don't pay the bills.
Yeah.
Okay, people who buy your product pay the bills. Now,
Mm.
some of those followers may be people who buy the product. That's the key, is to identify
Yeah.
who those are and engage with them, and
Mm-hmm.
try to get the noise out of, keep the noise going, but try to get it out of the way of, it's like the cheerleader squad on the side of the football field,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't want the cheerleaders in the middle of the field.
Mm.
Okay. Otherwise you can't play the game.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need to keep them on the sidelines so that you can, deal with the other players on the field.
Yeah.
And that's really how you kind of have to look at social medias. All right. Yes. All these likers and all of that are fabulous, and they're digesting your content and they're spitting back out, and it's actually fabulous because it does get you known. Now
Yeah.
you have to identify in the group who really can use your help,
Mm-hmm.
right? And getting the message to them that you can help them overcome, um, with a product that solves a problem, a service that solves a problem, or whatever it is that you have to offer.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking for just people to follow me. I'm not looking for followers, and I know that's how it's stated. Like LinkedIn is connections. Facebook, who's your friends, and Instagram is your following or whatever. But I'm thinking like I'd like an ambassador, like those. I
Yeah.
mean, the people that will share the content, they're an ambassador for me. They're sharing it, and probably my ideal client might be on their feed. And when they share my content, then because they're following me, they're liking me, we're friends, and they may not be my ideal client. But when they share something that I've posted on their timeline, I may have my ideal client on their timeline. They saw that feed, and now they're like, man, I got connected with you because of so and so. and I look at that person as an ambassador. They were an ambassador for me because I shared it. I'd love to have more ambassadors.
Right. So I look at it like this, and it's kind of interesting because this just happened yesterday. But when I'm talking to anybody about this, it's like you see the lawyer's billboard on the side of the highway. You drive by that sucker 400 times a month.
Yeah, right.
And you don't pay any attention to it. But when the guy rear ends you right in front of the billboard, who's the lawyer that you call? Right?
That's exactly
it's about getting attention, but the real thing is it's about being on top of mind at the time that the event or the problem that you solve arises to such a magnitude that they have to take action. All right.
Yeah.
And that is what that's about. Right. So you got to be out there on the highway with your billboard when the car accident happens. And then you become very, very relevant. And if you're there at that time with your contact information and they're in the place, as long as your messaging fits for the problem, they're going to pick up the phone, or they're going to send the email, or they're going to do the direct message. And this happened to me yesterday. It was kind of interesting. There was a company I was consulting with 25 years ago over in Detroit. And the company disbanded a long, long time ago. And, everybody that was there, all of a sudden out of the blue yesterday morning, one of the top guys in that particular company reached out to me. I got a call with him this morning. Whatever the problem is, or whatever the issue is, right? He was out there in the Ethereum, but he was a contact on LinkedIn, and he sees all the stuff that we're pumping out. And at some point, possibly, I don't know. I haven't had the conversation yet, but there was a problem, and my stuff was there.
Yeah. We had a question from one of our viewers about building a strategy for the long term, and that case that you just shared, I had a similar instance yesterday. I went into an optimal wellness center for my B12 shot, and a former client, very wealthy in the oil and gas industry. He was coming out one of the back rooms from his whatever wellness he was there for. And he's like, Tracy. I was like, Mark, and he's like, I need you, man. I got a guy and he didn't say, hey, are you still in coaching? Because of the social media footprint, because he's following and he sees my content, the messaging is so clear that he knew I'm still in that space, to where his second words out of his mouth is, I got a guy that needs you. Come by the office and let's get you hooked up with that guy. So he already knew that I'm still in that space. And I probably on this show, there's not time now, but we need to go into and serve our viewers probably on that concept of the problem I solve and who I solve it for, making sure, like the billboard guy, when you said that, I was like, if he's, an accident lawyer, I mean, that's a not at fault accident. You're right. And you got into it. I didn't do anything. They hit me. I need to call that guy because I know exactly what kind of lawyer he is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that messaging, and so it's just because you're on social media. So the question is, does my business need social media? If you're not clear on what it is that you do and who you do it for, you better get clear on that on the front end. Otherwise, you're just going to post all this kind of random stuff and okay, this is this business, but I don't really know what they do.
Yeah.
You know why you don't know what they do? Because they don't know what they do.
Well, they don't know the problem they solve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they don't know what they're solving, and but they just know that, or they believe social media is going to help me.
That's right.
But nothing's going to help you like doing the work before you get on there. Like, this is the problem I'm solving. This is the problem I'm solving, and then you'll be able to find or maybe those that you solve it for will find you, because you're constantly advertising that. I know that's something we got to do. But man, our time goes by so fast.
It does. It does.
Man. Anyway,
so
I enjoyed
it. Good call. So, all right. 1 week.
Very good.
Days.
So
we'll be back again.
Yes, absolutely. Another 7 days. We'll be back at this time, you guys. Yes. You as well, Paul.
Somebody. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, that's right. All right.